Okay.
See you.
I am Mazi KK Odeluga.
Mazi Ejikeme Obasi.
Na Mazi Oke Okachuku.
This is Straight Talk Radio, the world as we see it.
Coming to you from WGHC 98.3 FM. Your voice, your music, your station.
Listen to us this and every Saturday at 4 to 5 p.m. U.S. Central, and this and every Tuesday at 9 to 10 p.m. U.S. Central.
Hey, Igbo kwenu. Hey, Mono. Hey, Sotano. Hey, Patano. Hey, Kwesun. Hey.
Ndewono. Welcome to Straight Talk Radio, the world as we see it. Coming to you from WGHC 98.3 FM, your voice, your music, your station. We welcome you again to another program of Straight Talk, which is a news magazine and public affairs program that focuses on the issues affecting Africans, Nigerians, and Ndi Igbo, both at home and in the diaspora. This program is sponsored by the Igbo American Heritage Foundation, and Straight Talk is built on the Igbo philosophical ideology of Eziokwu Bondo, meaning truth is life or truth is the essence of life. You see, in the traditions of our fathers, we will be truthful, honest, and straightforward in reporting news, telling every story, and discussing every issue or topic to the benefit of our listeners. So our panelists will inform and be willing to be informed by our audience and listeners in the spirit of Ibe Amaru, Ibe Zie, which the Igbo believes that we can always learn. We are in a continuous process of learning. And so we welcome you today to another program with me. In the studio today is Mazi Ejike Obasi.
Ndewonu.
Mazi Oke Chukwu Okachukwu.
Dalono.
And this is Mazi KK Odeluga. So today we'll be talking about Ndi Igbo and their neighbors. So, Mazi Obasi, can you pick up this conversation? We had earlier discussed this topic in our previous program, and there were a lot of feedbacks from our listeners. Can you pick it up from there?
Yes, I was quite pleasantly surprised at the amount of feedback we got. Quite a few people left comments on the Facebook page and gave feedback on other media about how they thought or what their thoughts were on what was discussed. And I think it's only proper that we continue this discussion, allowing for more, allowing the audience to further participate, because I think this is something that clearly garnered a lot of interest. So far, as of the last discussion, we had talked about relationships of Ndi Igbo, or rather Igbo communities with their host communities outside of Ali Igbo, or where the Igbo traditionally reside. And we talked about this both within the context of Nigeria, West Africa, and globally. Most of the feedback came from the discussion as concerns Igbo communities in Nigeria outside of Ali Igbo. And so I think it's proper that we continue from there. The last time we talked the last time we had this discussion, we had talked about factors that we felt might contribute to resentment against Ndi Igbo that live in communities outside of Ala Igbo, and where misperceptions could have arisen from. One of the things we talked about, of course, was a cultural bias, in the sense that different cultures approach life in different ways, and that sometimes the Igbo drive, which is, I would say, part of the DNA of Ndi Igbo, is misperceived by other communities as arrogance, domineering, and in other negative characteristics. And so maybe we should start there by again looking at what is it about Ndi Igbo that other people might look at and have issues with. Okay?
So I was absent the last time, but I did listen, and it was a great conversation. I actually did enjoy it. I will actually tackle this from a different point of view, looking at Ndi Igbo today, in Igbo land and beyond, because the one thing that is consistently talked about Ndi Igbo is their love of money, and sometimes perception is reality, and sometimes it's actually a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'll give you an example. So today in Igbo land, a growing young man seems to aspire to just make money for money's sake. And it seems like the message that is being propagated and sent out by the community is that the end justifies the means. The example I'm talking about is if you go to churches where we find ourselves mostly these days, the person that gives the most amount of money cannot explain where his money is coming from. But the church, which is supposed to be the center of morality in the community today, and the people in the community who actually should be asking the questions are busy praising this guy or defending him against other people who may be asking the question. So it seems as if we have adopted that money should be the drive for Ndi Igbo. So when other people say it, when they used to say it, I used to try to defend it. But now that we have too many examples of people with money parading around, spraying the money at occasions, and not being able to, just being a businessman with no business, it's tough to try to defend those kind of stance.
Yeah, but when it comes to intercommunal relationships, I think the Igbo will tell you that the reason why when he comes among other people, he's not there to defraud them. He's not there to beat them up. He's not there to destroy what they have. But he's here to take good care of him, to create opportunities for himself. The reason why he left his homeland is because he found something that he could do within that community. And so what we are really talking about is those people that legitimately now comes into communities as traders, as artisans, as teachers, as civil servants, as professionals. There seems to be a challenge for them when they start getting successful in their new homes, in their new communities. And so it breeds envy, brings jealousy. Yes, I see what you're talking about. There is a way we exhibit our wealth that constitutes an irritation. I call it an irritation for the community, our host communities. So you're right, because I'm looking at it from the Igbo philosophical position that Ndi Igbo believes that Obiabo nya abiabunia. And I don't see us going to places to actually hinder or destroy the people, because we go to provide service. And most times that's what we do, wherever you find us. So how do we address this problem?
I'll play devil's advocate again.
Okay.
Go ahead.
If I may come in here, I actually think that Oke made a very, very valid point in terms of behavioral traits that create problems.
Yes.
But I would like to posit that this is not an Igbo problem. if you go back to traditional Igbo behavior, a man does not need to display his wealth, his opulence publicly to Ndi Igbo. That is vulgar. That is vulgar. Because a man's wealth is exhibited in his family. How he takes care of his wife and children.
Yes.
That is where a man's wealth should shine. When if we can use the terms when men were men, when Ndi Igbo were Ndi Igbo, the men did not necessarily go out and start throwing around flashing money. That is really not an Igbo trait, but it is one of the I shall say maladaptations that the Igbo have accepted. Let me point out, our neighbors are just as bad when it comes to this. Our neighbors are just as bad. Whether you go to the north or to the west, this kind of vulgar display of opulence is a Nigerian thing. It is uniform. Ndi Igbo clearly have adopted it. And yes, I think this is one of the traits we should be talking about dropping, because it is, as far as I'm concerned, not helpful to anybody. Okay?
So I agree with all that you said. And actually, as an Igbo man, that's how I want to live my life and how I strive to live my life, to make sure that I'm not a nuisance to my neighbors, and that whatever good I have that I share with them, and whatever good that they share, that I actually enjoy. But we're not all good.
True.
There are a few, the loud few, that actually make the most noise for the rest of us. Let me take the people that used to run off to Malaysia before it became a really bad thing. Run off to Malaysia because the drug trade there was easier to get through, at least it seemed. And anytime you read of Nigerians caught in the drug trade out the Southeast Asia, there's usually one Igbo person in there. And the thing is, when you go back home and you hear of people getting ready to go overseas, especially to that part of the world, and have no idea what it is they are running to, it seems like the draw is always about the flashy money. And my position is, it's because the people that Akuluono, Kwebosi.
Yes.
But we have forgotten the second part of Akuluono. We've actually stopped at Akuluono, that people take their wealth. Even people get in debt in the U.S., charge up their credit cards, buy a bunch of stuff they don't need, take it down to Nigeria, and live the large life for a 2-week vacation. Then you come back, and for the next 5 years, you're
in debt.
You're trying to pay off the credit card you used for 2 weeks. But what I'm saying, that communicates to the people that are seeing this display, the young kids that are growing up and seeing me come home and spray money and make it rain and all this stuff at occasions. They are thinking, oh, given the respect and the accolades he's getting and how people are treating him with money, the goal is money.
So, again, this is Straight Talk, the world as we see it. We're coming to you from WGHC 98.3 FM, your voice, your music, your station. And by the way, if you are within our Chicago listening area, you can find us on your radio dial 98.3 FM. We are here every Saturday and between 4 and 5 p.m. and Tuesday between 9 to 10 p.m. So, and if you have outside of our listening area, the best thing to do is download the WGHC app, both from the Apple Store or from the Play Store, and you'll be able to listen to us 24/7. And we are live on Facebook Live, and if you go to Straight Talk Radio to You, or you can go to the WGHC Facebook page. Now, back to the conversation that we're having about the Igbo and their neighbors. I think this is a very important topic because Ndi Igbo.
Yes.
We are sojourners. We believe that life is a pilgrimage. Well, Njali keji mbwali keji lewambi.
That's right.
Adano ofu ebe na Ekilimong. So we are often the kind of people who move around, and we adjust our place, our position based on what is expedient, and be able to maximize, make better for our own lives, you know. So it's expedient that we know how to relate, how people view us. Now, what I want us to focus on in this next conversation is really the idea of Obiabonya Abiabunia. What does that mean for us as we sojourn all over the world and even within Nigeria? At some point, I would like us to address some of the conflicts that have happened as we sojourn in many communities. But what does it mean when the Igbo say Obiabonya Biabunia? Onaba kampungale pianas, meaning that you don't want to live with a hunchback, you don't want to live with a shame, or you don't want to live with
baggage.
With a baggage.
Yes. I think at the end of the day, it's a very simple issue. Ndi Igbo sena ọkụkọ bịara ọhụrụ na-eji otu ụkwụ akwụ. When you come to a community, take out time to learn the community you are planning to live in. Learn their practices, learn their likes and dislikes, and try to live in a way that allows you to blend in. You cannot come to a community that has existed for thousands of years and decide all of a sudden you're going to start doing things in a way that is totally against their norms and practices. The last time that happened, we called it colonialism. When the white man came and decided that his way, it was his way or the highway. Ndi Igbo, we are not colonizers. We are travelers, we are visitors, we are sojourners. We want to live in peace with our neighbors. So I think the very first thing you need to do is to learn their likes and dislikes and try to live a life that brings harmony in the society where you have decided to make home.
Now, okay.
I totally agree, and I want to give an example of visitors actually becoming a pest and becoming a problem, a parasite to the community that they're in, with a recent examples. This week, it was the beginning of this week, we heard of the Fulani herdsmen in quotes for me, that went to Benue and got into a conflict with the indigenes that they were visitors to, and ended up in a crisis with fatalities and killing people in the most abhorrent way. That's visitors being a pest and being nuisance to the community that they visit. That is not, from what I understand, what our culture is. We never really go to a community and become a pest, no matter what their grievances are. So what we're talking about is not to be that kind of problem to communities that we come to. And for all I've learned from all the Igbo people that actually raised me, I've learned to be the person that actually tries to understand the community that I come into. Try to obey the rules and the regulations and try to understand why they are there for the communities that I come into. And be able to share my culture in a way that is not, it's almost like having for my techie people that watch Star Trek, a prime directive where you're coming into a culture, not trying to change it, but not trying to bring you're not trying to bring your stuff to change it, but you're not trying to take anything away that will mess it up.
Yeah. Njepo, Amaka.
Yes. Johnny, be good.
Njepo Ndi Igbo na say, the Igbo will say that Njepo Amaka, but no ya ka nwampi, mana nwampi jesi, we muti sonye onu enu. Meaning that the he-goat that traveled now came back and learned how to put up his lips. Are there things we should not do when we travel? By that I mean, it had been alluded to in earlier conversation about some of the traits that are not Igbo, that we seem to pick up because of our travel and contact with other cultures. And then we become excessive with it. And this issue keeps coming up, the issue of Igbo ego. Is that intrinsically an Igbo norm? Is it a tradition? At what point did it come into our culture? And how do we practice it? And how has it been misused?
If you ask me, if you look at the history of Nigeria, and let's talk about the three major tribes in Nigeria, the Hausa, the Igbo, and the Yoruba. It's the Yoruba that have been known to be people that enjoy life. Owambe is a Yoruba thing. Igbos are boring. We are stiff. We are family members. If you look at traditional Igbo society, it is geared towards family. It is geared toward values that elevate family. A man who dances in the public space, wefulefu. That's the Igbo way. So in terms of all this flashy life, I think my Yoruba neighbors, you have taught us well.
Including the Ashebi that came with
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. These are things. And now I don't have an issue with everybody living their life according to their culture. But let us understand that, like the Igbo say, you cannot cry louder than the bereaved.
Yes.
These are things that the Yoruba have done all their lives. It is their lifestyle. I praise them for living a free, happy life. Igbos, okay, if you want to live that life, try and learn where it came from and try to live it in the context of Onyibo. If you look at what has happened is, and that is what Ndi Igbo say na onye na amaghị ebe eliri ozu na-esidi n'ụkwụ abụọ. You don't know why things are done. You don't know how things are done. Let me remind you that the Igbo have never really had kingdoms. We have always been local, family-based, small communities. So a lot of things like this, we don't know when to say when. And I think that drives a lot of the excesses. So you see young men, you throwing around money. And now, like Oke said earlier, you lose the essence of what it is, and it becomes all about the act. Throwing millions of naira in, or dollars or pounds or whatever currency where we reside in a public place just for doing that.
I mean, even some of it's become comical. You know, you go to parties, there's a table set up now for $1. Change. Now, if you have $50 to give to that child or to that woman or to that man, why don't you put in an envelope and leave it with them? But everybody is showing up with $1 and spraying it as if...
You don't want to be the left-out person.
Okay.
No, but I think it's what he said. It's context, right? Because I'm pretty sure that where the culture came from, there's a context.
Yes.
And there's a reason why it was done.
Yes.
We took it, I think it's a good thing that we wanted to enjoy life like our neighbors. But it's being able to do it in context and being able to not lose ourselves in doing it and not communicate the wrong message. My fear is that the wrong message is already communicated.
Absolutely.
Because whoever is looking at it is seeing how much money you're spraying. So their goal is next time, because of our competitive nature, to be able to spray more money than you.
And then if it's your neighbor among whom you live, and they knew when you came with nothing but a bag, a small bag, they'll think you've made so much money off of them.
Yes.
And now you become a target.
A friend of mine said that the most annoying thing to him is that when he was struggling in school and paying his way and doing all the hard work, nobody saw him. But then when he made it, people were calling him overnight success. He said it was not overnight. It took a long while. And that's the problem. Your neighbors did not see all the struggle. All they are seeing you do is waste money, not even manage it properly. It's a waste when you're spraying it like it's growing on trees. And by the way, those videos that we're pasting on Facebook and YouTube, when the people in Nigeria are calling you and telling you all their problems, It is because they see the amount of money you're spraying on Facebook. So I don't blame the people who are asking sometimes. The only problem is that they ask me who's not spraying money because they're thinking that me and you are living in the same place, so I must be having the same kind of Dollar Tree.
Mm-hmm. Again, this is Straight Talk Radio coming to you from WGHC 98.3 FM. Your voice, your music, your station. You can listen to us every Saturday from 4 to 5 or Tuesdays from 9 to 10 p.m. And you can get us on the radio dial 98.3 FM or listen to us through the app, WGHC app, which you can download from your Apple Store or from your Play Store. We're discussing today Ndi Igbo and their neighbors. Now, somebody will argue that no matter what you do, once you're successful, you are a target for hate, envy, jealousy. Yeah, and so the argument will be that the Igbo is hated because they're successful. And Amy Chu, I think, wrote a book and singled out the Igbo as one of the ethnic groups that have drawn some bad vibes because of their success. It's as a diaspora people that wherever they go, they seem to succeed. And so because of that, they provoke some negative reaction. Now, is that inevitable that we will provoke envy no matter where we go as Ndi Igbo? Or are there things that we can do to mitigate that?
Okay, go ahead.
My American friends say that haters will hate, right? So, yes, there will be some people who are not happy for anybody's success, whether you're Igbo or not. And that's because misery loves company. You shouldn't worry about those people. But there are some things that we could do better so that at least it will curtail some of that or actually show the hate for what it is. Mm-hmm. So we've been talking about spraying money. If we're going around spraying money, but my neighbor is finding it hard to eat, it will be tough for my neighbor to be happy for me because I'm wasting the money that I could use to help them. But if we are actually becoming part of the community that we live in and are helping solve the problems of the community, if we're helping serve in the soup kitchen, if we are helping donate or do what's necessary to uplift the community, and people are seeing that, the haters, when they get up and say, hey, Igbo people are terrible, look at what they're doing, then the other people who are not hating will say, well, I know this man and this is also what he does. So going around the community and enjoying all the good things of the community and not participating in any way, shape, or form or contributing in any way, shape, or form to help the community out breeds anything that comes with it.
I actually think that traditionally Ndi Igbo have helped communities where they have found themselves in. My feeling is that in more recent times, that is less visible because Ndi Igbo have no longer congregated purely as Ndi Igbo. And in the sense I mean it is, if you look at prior to the Civil War, you had Igbo communities all over Nigeria. Igbo communities would try to build a school,
yes,
try to have a church.
Yes.
They would do things that were driven from the school or from the church and that benefited the community.
Yes.
Since the Civil War, that Igbo bond in terms of congregating around institutions that can help society are not that strong anymore.
Yes.
So you still have a lot of Igbo cultural-based associations, but those most times look towards where they come from.
Their homeland.
Their homeland.
Yes.
And so a lot of that aid has shifted. But I would like to point out that if you still go to, let's take the church. Show me a successful church and go and look at the congregation. A lot of them are Ndi Igbo, and they do give and give freely. except that you no longer see it as an Igbo giving.
Yes.
It is now redeemed or whatever institution.
Yes.
If you see what I'm, yes.
Yeah, whichever denomination.
Denomination, yes.
It's the Anglican Church, it's the Catholic Church,
yes,
it's the
absolutely.
Winners or
Whatever
Pentecostal church it is.
And so the actual benefactors, the actual donors are hidden under that umbrella. Whereas prior to the Civil War, you would say the Igbo Union built a school. Igbo Union built. So I am not sure in that sense that Ndi Igbo are still not giving. I think a lot of it is now not as open as it is. The second part of it that we always have to remember, Igbos create employment.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, you go somewhere, you open a hotel, somebody has to be a gate man, somebody has to clean rooms, somebody has to serve in the kitchen. So these are employment opportunities, a lot of which go to the locals.
Yeah, but you see, it's interesting you brought that point up, because what you're saying is that our collective help as groups that used to happen before is no longer as visible.
Yes.
But the individual there providing service, selling goods and services, is also providing some kind of positive influence within the community. But it is not seen as that. The man that built the hotel, they now see him as the Akajiako. The man who came here now is taking everything from us.
Took our land.
He took our land, built on it. Now he's so successful. He has several cars. He has several apartments in the community. So people no longer see him as a man providing service and employment. I agree with you.
He probably paid a whole lot of money to acquire that land and paid for that service to build that hotel with people. But I hear you, yes.
So the issue then is, how do we begin to change the perceptions? Because again, it means that there has to be a formalized way of dealing with our image and the perception of our host communities, so as to make sure that we have a positive image.
So a lot of the Igbo organizations that I know of today, whether they're in Nigeria or outside Nigeria, are more interested in social activities and right after social politics. And the politics is not the politics of the politics is usually two ways. One is, I want to take this back to my hometown so that they will know that this is what came from me. And the other one is, we need to send a message to the politicians in Nigeria, either to gain favor or to let them know that we're watching. And I think that's all well, except we have forgotten to actually live where we live, which Ebonye Bikon Awachi. If we start living where we live, if we actually start taking care of the community we live in first, then we have a base, so that when you start saying to somebody in Nigeria, I am watching you, they will look and see, oh yeah, he has a community around him that is watching me. Maybe I should listen. Or if you're taking something from where you live to take back to your hometown, then the community that you are living in, where you are actually making some of this wealth, will actually join you in saying, hey, we've benefited from this, so let's join you in actually taking something back. So people in Kano, if you're taking something back to the east, maybe the people in Kano will actually help you and pack up a lorry full of yams and ship it back to your people, because you've actually been able to help the community stop hunger by creating all those employment and giving them food that is in excess for them to take home. One more thing. So the government of Anambra State, at some point I read on the internet, of course everything you read on the internet is true, decided that they were doing a lot with agriculture. They have this much vegetables and rice. And the next thing I read was that they were going to ship it to Europe and to the Americas to sell. And I'm looking, it was exactly at the time in Nigeria when the bag of rice, actually the price went up from whatever it was to about a 100% increase. And I'm thinking to myself, am I reading this right? You are taking the bag of rice from Anambra State and deciding that you're going to ship it abroad and sell to people abroad when your people are suffering because the price is crushing them. It didn't look like I'm hoping that was just my misreading and that I was totally wrong in my interpretation. But if that ever happened, that we grew food in Anambra State and decided that it's best to sell to people who are outside of Anambra and actually outside of Nigeria and actually outside of Africa, it's a shame that we actually haven't figured out how to get our people well fed and well satisfied before we start moving out.
Yes. Yeah. I find your earlier point quite interesting that why don't we see the Igbo living in Kano in his village with a Kano man who is his friend, together digging a well or providing a service for the community. As he has helped them in Kano, then the man now comes to an Igbo to help. Because that is something that will begin to bridge the gap. Because, for example, the Igbo have not just employment. We have also intermarried with our neighbors.
Yes.
We have in-laws in Hausa land, in Yoruba land, in Ibibio land, in Efik land, in among the Middle Belters. There is no part of Nigeria where you cannot find an Igbo that is married to the local. Those used to be very significant covenantal relationships that you could actually call diplomatic relations that help keep communities at peace. Because if I'm married to somebody from a different community, that community sees me as their in-law, so they will not pick a fight with my community. But we don't see that mitigating those kinds of violence or fears or anxieties. And I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I think we're looking at different issues and lumping them together. If we take the very first issue of what to do, using your example about agriculture.
Yes.
I think the first thing you need to look at is the governor of your state. What are his priorities? Is his priority to the people he governs, or is his loyalty to his party chairman in Abuja? Mm-hmm. And taking it along that, going along that stream of thought, when you talk about why people are not seen as providers of labor, when you create industry, you create employment, perhaps one needs to recognize the fact that in Nigeria, we still do not recognize that non-governmental employment is valuable.
Yes, private sector.
The private sector is still, apart from maybe Lagos, as the only place in Nigeria where private sector is seen to play a strong role, the rest of Nigeria still looks to quote-unquote government for everything. That is a very, very strong reason behind the thought of restructuring that country. Mm. You need to destroy that perception that Big Daddy, the federal government, is responsible for every single aspect of your life.
Yes.
Because I feel that drives a lot of these excesses. If you had a region that has to find a way to feed its citizens, provide employment, and there is no big uncle in Abuja coming to bail you out, you are going to have to find innovative ways of making things happen.
Yeah.
And if you have people who are willing to come in and bring in private sector jobs, you would appreciate it a lot more.
Again, this is Straight Talk Radio, coming to you from WGHC 98.3 FM, the world as we see it. Now, listening to you, Mazi Obasi, it dawned on me that actually the Igbo is a major contributor of private sector jobs all across Nigeria, indeed West Africa and Africa.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if anybody has tried to put some numbers to it, but I think it will be appreciable, quite a good
I'm from Nnewi. I could list a few of them.
Okay.
We have Kudis Cable.
Yes.
We have Ibeto.
Yes.
We have the transportation is Chukwu, and
the
then
young shall grow, all that.
And then we have the
Innocent,
the recent one. And the heartbreak with some of the news about Innocent is this is a privately held company. Actually, somebody's sweat of trying to create employment, of making vehicles in Nigeria. That my government, Nigerian government, if they actually saw the vision, will be able to come around this guy, help make financing easier, help open the doors so that we could actually be able to produce our own vehicles, make it cheaper, make it locally, use the raw materials, provide employment for the over 50% unemployed youths that are walking around. Instead, what I'm reading is that my government or government agencies are used to go after this guy and trying to get him in trouble. I'm not against anybody I'm not against pursuing cases or court settlements or trying to, because I heard it was a dispute between him and a bank. But there are rule of law that if you're a blind man, you could read and know that this wasn't followed. So yes, Igbo people do provide employment in their neighborhoods and in places where they go, but not just Igbo people. Anybody in Nigeria that is got a private business usually finds themselves fighting against the corrupt officials that we have as government, or fighting against the government to actually be able to provide the employment that the government, the big daddy, hasn't been able to.
Sure.
Yeah, so, but I would like us to get back to this idea of the role of government in ensuring peaceful and harmonious coexistence among the peoples within their boundaries, political boundaries. And I'm bringing this up to ask the question, what, within the Nigerian political space, what do you see as the role the government have played in the past, is playing, or should be playing to make sure there is harmonious coexistence among peoples of Nigeria?
Yeah. That question is a loaded question.
He's pregnant.
If you want to put it in very simple terms, Nigeria has got it all wrong, completely wrong, and like Ndi Igbo say, "Enweghị eji azụ aga."
Yes,
you're not getting anywhere with the way we're going. Societies that do well create a level playing field, make businesses easy for their citizens, create security, and allow their citizens to grow. Governments do not grow. People grow. Now I'm speaking like an American Republican, but maybe that's what I am. But absolutely. Unfortunately, historically, Nigerian government has often been an instrument of oppression against her people. The Nigerian government has harmed more than helped the Nigerian project. If you are a favored person, the government works well for you. Otherwise, it is horrible. And let me point out that I am not looking at this in terms of Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo, or any other Nigerian tribe. It is a universal thing. In my own state, Imo, the governor wakes up one day and decides he wants to dualize all the streets in Imo State. You take a bulldozer and start knocking down shops along the road. This is people's livelihood. This is what they do to feed their families. This is what they do to put their children through school. When you knock it down, you do not give them an alternative. You wake up one day and decide that the market where everybody goes to and shops is going to be relocated. You do not make plans for phased relocation. You take in bulldozers, always crisis, crisis, crisis. And this is replicated. It is the same in Lagos. It is the same in Kano. It is the same everywhere. The problem we have is that instead of looking at Nigeria's problem from a distance, we mire ourselves into the falsehood that it is ethnic exigencies that drive a lot of these.
So, in a way, you're saying when things fail, the Igbo gets blamed.
Everybody loses.
I think it's what you said at the last program. Is so the people that are perpetrating this for whatever their own good is, that are part of the government,
yes,
always finds a way to explain it or actually tell the people that they are oppressing that it is the Hausa versus Igbo or Igbo versus Yoruba or the church versus this, because it gives them cover. Yes. So the elites come up with these excuses that they sell to the poor masses about who's oppressing them, while they are, on the other hand, helping
stroke the fire.
Yes.
So in essence, the government have not been an agent, a good agent, I would say, in trying to make sure that people dwell together in harmony.
There are some governments that I would say tried. So I spent my time in Obudu for my honeymoon, and driving through Calabar area and some of those areas, whoever was the governor, and the Tinapa project and some of the things they were doing, the governor had foresight. And at some point in Anambra, I mean, no matter what they say is the problems of the Obi administration, one of the things I cheer them on is there was a plan, and there was a government-private partnership that was driven, and there were some industries that were brought into the state with state investment and private partnership. So the, what is it called, the Orient Petroleum and the Sam Miller and some of the...
So I think that could become another conversation.
Yes.
In terms of the functionality, does government work for our people? And really, do we need government? Because I think that should be an important conversation. Because at some point, people are beginning to, what have you done for me lately? If the answer is no, do we really need government? Or do we go back to the way we governed ourselves as nation states or city states? But looking at inter-ethnic relationships, intercommunal relationships within Nigeria, do you think the government have done enough or is doing anything to make sure that people live together? The Igbo, the Yoruba, the Hausa, the Ibibio, the Wap, and also anybody from any of the ethnic groups in Nigeria living among other people that are not their home state, have they found safety? Do they feel protected?
The government has never been a promoter of safety or even harmony across the differences that we have in Nigeria. In the eastern states, when they added more states, the unnecessary more states that were created out of the little patches of places that we live, the people in Enugu, the people in Anambra, who were their brothers working right next to them, before Anambra had it, to go home to Anambra. And actually, in some states in Nigeria, just because you came from a border state, you're called, I think you mentioned this, you're treated as a non-indigent in your country. I'm not sure I understand what that means.
Yes.
So the government and the people that run the government has never tried to make harmony a thing to focus on for any relationship in Nigeria.
I would, if I can add something here. Right now, the last two governments, this government and the government before in Nigeria, had made a lot of, were quite happy announcing successes against Boko Haram. Let me point out that Boko Haram had started terrorizing citizens for more than 2 years before the government even accepted that Boko Haram was a problem. Right now, you are dealing with the problem of quote-unquote Fulani herdsmen. Every single part of Nigeria, especially the Middle Belt, has felt the wrath of quote-unquote Fulani herdsmen who it is generally believed are not even Nigerians. These are mercenaries from other parts of, from our neighbors to the north.
I think that was the acknowledgement.
An agenda.
Yes.
Okay, so where is the army? Where is the police?
Yes.
So to even begin to have this discussion, I think there's no discussion here. It's a very simple, it's a statement of fact. The government has failed the people.
I also want to say that as much as the government has failed the people has failed the people. I'll say again, I'm from Nnewi, and when I was growing up, one of the things I'm still proud of today is when some neighboring cities around us was crying because government has not drawn the power for electricity through their town. Nnewi had electricity because the individuals in the community decided to band together and actually do the project themselves. Now, it hurts me to hear that the NEPA people and the government people will come in and cut the lines that we put money together to put on to drop out and pay for just because they're not getting paid for something they didn't deliver. That's a different case altogether. But what I'm saying is the people shouldn't wait for the government. There are things you could do as a community. You can't wait for the government for everything.
Yes. So now, as we round up, we've been talking about Ndi Igbo and their neighbors. What is it that we need to do? What is it that we need to leave that we're doing that is not good? Yeah, but if I got rapple, because not drama. What are the things that we need to uphold that are good traits? What the Igbo bring to the global table that is really of good, that is good and should be encouraged. And what is it that actually we need to pursue that we are not pursuing in discussing this issue of interrelationship? So I want you guys to be thinking about that. And I want to tell our listeners that we'll be back on Tuesday from 9 to 10. You hear Straight Talk Radio, the world as we see it. You hear us at WGHC 98.3 FM, your voice, your music, your station, coming to you from Chicagoland.
Yes, sir.
And also Saturdays from 4 to 5 will be live on this station. You can download the app, WGHC 98.3, and you'll be able to listen to this program 24/7. You'll be able to listen to this station 24/7 and our programs when they come on. Again, my panelists here with me are Mazi Oke Okachuku and Mazi Ejike Obasi. So we want to thank you for listening. We've had quite an insightful conversation around Ndi Igbo and their neighbors. And this conversation should continue, and we encourage you to go to our Facebook page and leave comments. Straight Talk to you, Straight Talk Radio to you, or you can also send us an email at, give us the email address.
It's straighttalkradio@igboheritage.com.
straighttalkradio@igboheritage.com, and we will be able to respond to your comments, and we would like at some point to entertain the listeners, calling us in, calling during the program, so we'll have an interactive conversation.
And for those watching live on Facebook, we hear you, we see you, and we'll get to some of your questions and your contribution next time.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Invite your friends and help us to spread the word. Straight Talk Radio is a news magazine and public affairs program that's focused on issues affecting Africans, Nigerians, and Ndi Igbo, both at home and the diaspora. And it's being sponsored by the Igbo American Heritage Foundation. And our goal at Straight Talk is always to bring you information, news, and public affairs topics from the perspective of Ndi Igbo. Makanasina Ezioku Bondo.
Yes.
We believe that we need to speak truth to power, and we need to tell ourselves the truth and come to you straight as it is, without any, how do we say
embellishment.
No embellishment.
No chasers, straight up.
No chasers, straight up, straight up, straight up, straight up.
Yes.
So thank you so much. And again, as we sign off, we invite you to join us again Tuesday from 9 to 10 p.m. on Saturdays from 4 to 5. Tell your friends about this program. Tell your friends about this wonderful community radio that we have, WGHC 98.3 FM. Thank you so much. Can we now, last word, Mazi, okay?
Stop spraying money and start helping out in your community.
And Mazi Obasi.
Go back to do the things the way you used to do them before. Onyagala nwanne ya.
Chukwu gozie unu. Ọbịa bụ onye abịa bụ ya. Ọnaba ka mkpukpu ghara ịbịa n'azụ. Thank you.
Igbo kwenu. Hey. Igbo kwenu. Hey. Mwanụ. Hey. Sotano. Hey. Atano. Hey. Kwesonu. Hey.